Joyce. This is Betsy, and I'm going to go over your assignment, your portrait assignment. So off the bat, I am struck by what I think. I think you have an eye for people and an eye for portraits. I think there's something I definitely feel in these portraits. I think your your initial response to people is really strong. Um, so that said, I'm going to go through the individual portraits and see. I think there's definitely some places that you can work on and push it. But I think that the inclination, the gestures that you get from the people, the expressions, for the most part, reveal to me that you have an eye for people. Um, so I want to start with this one, which I think the sharpness of his face and the kind of there's this kind of genuineness that's really nice. I think that smiling pictures of people can work occasionally, like a genuine one. I mean, this feels like a nice picture, like a nice picture. I think as far as like expressive art, I think smiles are really hard to make work. I think because we're presenting what we think we're supposed to show to people. So one of the things that I think is, well, I think you're good at capturing people. I think the pictures that you're choosing are maybe a little bit too happy and lean a little bit more towards like cliche pictures. But let's go through. So I want to say though that this one, this one's really striking in terms of the clarity and the openness and the accessibility of this person. So I really like that one. This one, it also feels like a genuine smile. I love how his like this gesture of his mouth being open. And I think the composition has potential to be interesting, but I think it's just a little too off to the side. I think I'm a little distracted by how he's cropped over to the side. And there's so much space in this picture that's given to the wall, to the cinder block wall, that I feel like there's a little bit too much tension in that kind of composition to really focus on him. So I mean, I think it's interesting, and there's possibilities for portraits to kind of approach them in a different way. But for me, this one doesn't work completely. And then this one is a little bit more generic, I think, and I feel like this is an example of one where I would be more interested in her if maybe she wasn't smiling. It feels like kind of a picture that you're taking to put up on the wall at work to show what someone looks like. This one also highlights some color issues that I think you're having, and I pretty much see it in all the pictures. So one, you've got like, you see how her face is kind of red, and then you see the background is yellow. So, I mean, partly this is because I think you're using some kind of flash on her, and that that it has a different color than the fluorescent lights in the background. But I find that all of your pictures, all the way up here, have this like reddish tint to the face. And I don't think actually that you're using flash in these, and I'm not sure if you are in this one. There'd probably be more of a reflection. So, but it's still like whatever the source is, it's causing their skin to be a little bit red. So I pay attention, and then this one for sure, right? This one is like, I know he's probably a little bit red because he's been working out. In some ways, I find this to be one of the more interesting pictures. I'm a little distracted by the fact that he's out of focus and the fence is in focus. I think in a way it's a tool that you could use, but I think I would rather have him be in focus, and instead I'm like seeing the woman walking her dog that's in the back. But there's also something kind of mysterious and offhanded about this picture that I think is really interesting and effective. And this like relationship between him and Sparky is this is one of the strongest pictures in terms of like kind of this like being unexpected. It's so much more unexpected than say this picture, right? There's just something a little bit more, there's something more interesting about this. But some other things to think about this, the bougainvillea in the back draws my eye. I mean, partly there's an interesting relationship between the red of his face and the bougainvillea, but ultimately I feel like it's too distracting from it. I mean, you could even just desaturate it a little bit. But anyway, so just thinking about that. Again, this is like another like nice office picture. I mean, he looks relaxed and happy. I mean, I think you're good at getting people looking happy, and that could be that's a certain kind of portraiture. But my job is to push you to make things a little bit more, to have a little bit more depth and complexity. This one is another one. This one is probably, I think, the most successful to my mind of the shots. I think that things that are happening, that it's not as conventional in terms of what he's showing to the camera. I love his hand and this finger over to the side, and the buttons kind of like gently separating on his shirt. For me, this one is successful, and I think it's okay that his arm is cut off to the left. I like this like composition a little bit over to the left. You're giving all this room to his arm, so I think this is quite nice, quite nice picture. And then this one, again, your balance is interesting. You've got an interesting balance of compositions that you're trying. This one, I think I'm still feeling like. And she's squinting in the sun, which is such an Arizona thing. This this one works pretty well, although I feel like ultimately the fact that her eyes are pretty much shut, I want a little bit more. And also there's a little bit of an overall red tint to it, a yellowish red tint. And again, this one isn't quite as interesting, and the yellow, but I still think, I like how you're composing in this one. Maybe her hand, like maybe it's a little bit too much cutting off of her hand, but I think there's some really interesting things happening there. And then this picture, I think, you put her in the center, which I think it could be a stronger picture if the composition had a little bit more tension and that she wasn't in the center. And also if her face were a little bit more illuminated, because the visor of the cap is like casting darkness on her eyes, and it makes the picture a little bit hard to look at. So so that's an issue with that one. And then this one, another more conventional, portrait, but there's something actually really beautiful about this picture. I mean, she's beautiful, but it's something about the expression that she's giving you. There's a kind of openness and a kind of, she's not outwardly really smiling, but her eyes are smiling, and there's just something about this picture, about her expression, that's really compelling. And this is one of my favorites in this assignment. Overall, I think you have a really good eye for people, and I would love to see you revisit this assignment for your final assignment. I feel connection to the people, and I can't really tell who you're close to and who you're not close to. Maybe the barista. I'm guessing maybe the barista is someone you don't know. I think you said the last two were strangers. This one, but this one is quite good. You have an eye for people. I would, again, the technical things may have more to do with your camera, but like look at the color and think about that, and think about the composition in some of them, and what does it mean to put it. Some, like this one, putting it in the center works, and the expression. But I think this is really nice work.